Okay, we've got the panel back in here. I've just tacked it in place with a couple of screws for now, for testing purposes. We've got the lock fished back through, and the cable for the handle fished back through, and the wiring for the lock through as well. I've also went ahead and put the regulator back in for testing, and popped the switches. Went ahead and popped the switches for the windows out of the door panel so that I could have them for handy testing. And let's take a look here. Alright. And it is working. And I went ahead and used a little bit of all-purpose grease on the tracks. I was able to stick my fingers through here through these holes that we use to access the clamps in the windows, and put a little all-purpose grease in there on the track just for a little bit of lubrication. Might have been better to do that before I put it together, but it can be done after it's put together. And also worth noting that where this regulator screws in, the holes for these screws have to be re-tapped, which you do simply by screwing the screws for them back in. But that would have been handy to know before I put it back together, because it would have been easier to do out of the window. But it was easy to do, easy enough to do with it all put back together. But as you can see, we are operational again, and what we have to do now is put everything back together and clean that window up, and cross our fingers that this window stays operational for the foreseeable future. And this is actually the second time that I've done this window, but this time I bought new parts instead of going to the junkyard, which was probably advisable. And don't forget to clamp your clips back on the glass. Simply line up the clips with these holes, which I've already missed. There they are. There's the clip, and there is the other clip on that side. That's how you line that back up again. And so we'll put this window back up and start putting it all back together. Alright, we're almost there. We've got everything patched back together. All the screws are back in their homes, and all the wires are tied back up. Now you may find, if yours is like mine, that these little tie-offs that they use for the wire to tie to the panel have become brittle and break. Last time I had this this door open, I didn't have that problem. But maybe because I've had to take it apart and put it back together once before, and just more time in the sun and more age. The car's almost 10 years old now. Most of them snapped when I was trying to pull them out of the door. They do sell these at auto parts store, but I found it was easy to just leave what was left stuck in the door there, and use some good old-fashioned zip ties, which you can see there in blue, to tie them back to the existing clips there. So that made it real easy. I mentioned earlier that I had pulled the switches out of the door panel so that I could test. Here are the window switches, and those come out real easy. I'll go back over here to the door panel. You can see the hole that I removed them from, and you can see how there's these grooves that fit down the bottom, and simply push that up in the top and it snaps in just like that. And of course we'll have to come back later and clean up our nasty handprints from all over the door. And when we hook this back up, we've got to remember to hook the connectors back up to the windows, back up to the door handle here. We've also got the wire over here for the security system, a little light that blinks, as well as the buttons for the trunk and to pop the gas flap there. Okay, we've got everything all patched back together. Looks good. Everything is snug and fits the way it should. I've tested all the switches and they operate. You can see the little light over there is working. And most importantly, we've got operation of the window again. Isn't that wonderful? Now, one final note, something that puzzled me to no ends the first time that I did this repair, and it's probably just stupidity on my part, but I just never noticed this is the way it works, is when we were checking to make sure that this locking mechanism over here is working correctly after putting it back together the first time I did this, noticed that when you lock it, it didn't want to go down. And I thought there was something wrong. We tore it back apart, trying to figure out what it was. Well, it turns out that this is actually part of a safety mechanism for this car, so that you don't lock yourself out of the car accidentally. Or lock your keys in the car, rather. So when you close the door, you'll notice that it operates the way it should. It's only that when the door is opened that it does not go into the lock position. So, in case you get stumped by that, or maybe you didn't even notice, but for a novice like me, I was a little bit confused. Now this job, I would say, is pretty difficult. I've done it once before, so I definitely made improvements as far as how long it took to do. It took me approximately 2.5 hours to do this. I'm sure there are people out there laughing that do this every day that can do it in like 20 minutes. But hey, I work on computers for a living, not cars. But the first time that I did this a few years ago, it took probably twice the amount of time. So definitely need to have some time set aside to do this kind of a repair. And that's about it.